is education policy. The administration is extremely committed to fundamental reform of education. The race to the top you've heard about. Rhode Island was number 8 in the competition. They gave awards to 2 states, Delaware and Tennessee. Is a way in which they can change sort of the operation of education, of look at technique, approaches that produce measurable results and measurable improvement. That's going to be reinforced throughout the reorganization of the elementary and secondary education. And the other aspect I think is important to note is that in terms of Pell Grants, we were lucky. Senator Pell, back in 1965, understood that if you gave people a chance to develop their talents in college, stand back. You know, a lot of things that have developed since then, like the internet, I'm sure Senator Pell had no idea then, and perhaps up until the last day, what the internet is. But without bright people who could know these things, could think about these things, we wouldn't have had these discoveries. And that's the power of education. What we've just done is we've changed the way we fund higher education dramatically. We've eliminated subsidies to banks to give loans. We now have a direct loan payment, which is operated here on Rhode Island at Providence College, I believe Salve also, and the University of Rhode Island. Been working for 5–10 years without a hitch. We have saved, over 10 years, $68 billion. We have taken those savings and invested $36 billion over 10 years into Pell Grants. So without adding more to the deficit, we've been able to provide a significant increase in Pell Grants, which, you know, as someone who has a daughter in the class of 2028, I appreciate it. Let me just talk about, just in general, when we get back, we're going to deal with financial reform. It's going to be a significant, I think, and ultimately bipartisan approach. It'll emphasize setting up resolution authorities, so if we have these institutions that are approaching insolvency, they will be resolved not by taxpayers, but by industry funds. We're proposing we pre-fund this sort of support system, not through taxpayers, but through financial institutions. We're going to deal with a whole range of issues, from consumer protection to rationalizing our regulatory approach. We're dealing with issues like credit rating agencies, making sure that they do their jobs appropriately. Derivatives, which Warren Buffett described as sort of a nuclear weapon, which was the cause of some of the most significant dangers. And that is going to, I think we're on the verge, again, of a bipartisan solution that we hope to get adopted in the next several weeks. Now, the way ahead. I think that we have pulled back from what many people thought was the brink of a crisis that would have been a bad, if not worse, than the Great Depression. Would have been not a year plus to see jobs come back, but several years. We've also, I think, avoided what many economists were forecasting just a few months ago, a double-dip recession. That we would have a little bump, and then we'd start seeing jobs fall. The economists now, on both sides of the perspective or spectrum, are talking about that's probably not going to happen. We're in the right direction, but the pace of recovery is too slow. Until we really start seeing significant job growth, then we can't rest. We've got to continue to do what we must do. Job growth is going to be a function of interrelated factors. Consumer demand, which is related to having a job, and stabilization of housing prices, which is also related to having a job. Because now a lot of our portfolios are people who just have lost their job and can't keep up. So we have to do more, I think, to incentivize job growth. We all hope this HIRE Act sets off a huge growth. But also what we're beginning to see is demand increasing. We saw retail sales over the Easter period to much higher than expected by the forecasters. That's a good sign because that means the retail industry will begin to think about hiring people back, etc. And we're seeing that in several different places. But again, it's not faster. The other thing we have to understand is that we're in an international economy, and we have to begin to deal with our friends and competitors, and sometimes they're one and the same. Many times they are. And Secretary Geithner is headed off to China this week to talk about their currency practices. He will be a sort of a lead-in to a visit by the Chinese premier to the president to again talk about these issues. But if we continue to see the strong growth in other parts of the world, it'll help us, particularly help us get into more of an export economy than an import economy. So I think we're headed in the right direction, but anything we can do to pick up the pace to speed, because ultimately it translates into people feeling comfortable and confident in their work and able to provide for their families. So our work is far from done. Thank you very much.